shall we set our intention? And we can join together for one Om. And then when you're ready to, we can just bring your legs out wide if that is nice for you. And by the way, you don't have to do this as a forward bend. It's also quite nice to just do this with your back to a wall like I'm showing you. So even you might want to start like that and then maybe go forwards, or just up to you. Then you can build up your props. So don't remember yin minimum edge. Some of us, we just always go to maximum. Then we go to like, okay, it's too much, and then ease off. But some of us, maybe some of you guys are maybe more wise and you can go slower in. So one way to go slower in is to use more props in the beginning and then just see, how does that feel? If you don't feel anything, maybe bring it a little lower. You don't have to have your hands supporting your head. It's just sometimes it feels nice to support your head, but some people like to just let it kind of dangle. That's just up to you what you prefer. Take your time to adjust so you have all the props that you like, and maybe even after a while you could get another prop at some point if you wish. If you feel like your heels are digging into the wood, maybe just slide a blanket under your heels. You want to get nice and supported. We'll be here for a while, so you've got time to adjust anything if you need to. And I think it's really lovely to practice the figure 8 pathway while you're holding the yin pose, if you'd like to, which is just where you just trace up from mulla to clavicle notch, around to the back of your head, to the bindu point, up to the top of your skull, and then down into the midbrain. So that's the inhalation path. Mulla, pelvic floor, clavicle notch. So basically the front of the body around to the back of the head and down into the midbrain. And then the exhalation path. So when you're aware of your breath out, just trace from ajna in the middle of your brain down to C7, down the back of your body, all the way down back to mulla. So maybe you already just immediately can sense that pathway, or maybe it's like a bit blurry. Like maybe it's like you need to get your glasses out to be able to feel the pathway. That's fine. Take your time. Just begin by simply being aware of when you're breathing in and when you're breathing out. Just starting there. Just bringing your awareness to your breath and just kind of resting on the breath can take you to the first stage of samadhi. So this is like the beginning. The practice is simply being aware of there's the breath in, and here's the breath out. And once you feel you're kind of like floating on your breath, you're kind of in the rhythm of the in and the out breath, you can just be aware of front of the body from the inhalation up around to the back of your head, to the top of your head, and then down into the midbrain, between the hemispheres of the brain. So you can just have your awareness there at ajna, inwards from your forehead, just when you're aware of the top of your in-breath. Just as your breath in starts to gently curve into the out breath. And as that gentle in-breath goes to out-breath, just trace from ajna to C7. Down the back of your body, all the way down the back of your body, down the spine, down your sacrum, down to your tailbone, to just in front of the tailbone. Because, you know, you have a pelvic diaphragm, just like how you've got your thoracic diaphragm. It's not as kind of noticeable because it doesn't have a volume change, but it does have a shape change. So there is actually a movement down to the pelvic diaphragm with your breath. Can you feel just at the very end of the breath out, right down into the pelvic diaphragm? Pelvic floor at the end of the breath out. And then the breath out turns into an in-breath. You can imagine almost like waves and you're just riding on the breath. Up the front of the body, around to the back of the head, to the top of your head, down into the midbrain. And then the in-breath turns, just gently kind of curves into the out-breath, and you can just float down as you breathe out from Ajna to C7 and down the spine, all the way back down to Mula. You're just gently tracing through this shape that is called Arahan and Awarahan, the shape of the figure 8. And as you it's kind of surrendering into the Kriya, so it actually directs your consciousness. Just for 3 more breaths. Just when you're ready to, just take your time, very, very slowly. It's probably how you'll feel like moving. Take your hands under your knees and just kind of pull them in a bit. Help your legs to come just around your bolster, which you could also do this different ways. So you could maybe put the bolster under your knees, or you could perhaps put your legs more close together. But I'm just going to suggest this option today with your legs just around the bolster. Just try if you like it, and if not, just shift it. And then again, it's also quite nice to bring the prop right into your belly. For some of us, that feels nice. And then come forwards just to that minimum edge again. And you might not want to have your props like that. Like I was saying, you might prefer to have it like this with your, or you could also put a blanket under there. So some people like this version like that. Or, you know, really, they're all, any of these variations are nice. So just kind of choose the one that feels the best for you. Because I just think the legs a little bit wider apart, not as wide as we just had it, may actually feel quite nice for you. So you know, these postures are helping you to feel into the back of your body, in case you haven't noticed. You're facilitating your breath out. Can you maybe feel that, how it's so easy to exhale? Can you trace down from Ajna to C7 and down the back of your body as you exhale? It's like this exploration of the inner kingdom. How you can just let your hands relax. Your feet relax. Your ears relax. Just for 3 more breaths here. Just take your time when you finish those breaths, and maybe you want to take longer, so there's no rush. Just gradually, when you're ready, come to lay down onto your back, but you might just like to put your bolster to the end of your mat just as you get ready for this, and then grab a block on the way down. I always feel like when you hold a forward bends for a long time, don't you reckon you just want to go to sleep? It's like you can't not lay down. So it's so good to just realize how you can just in a short time really rest your body, relax, just let your feet rest onto your bolster for a moment at the end of the mat. And just feel all the way through the back of your body, like down the back of your head, neck, shoulders, back of your arms, back of your hands, your shoulder blades. Just feel it just going deep into the ground. Back of your body into the ground. All the way down through your middle of your back and your lower back and your bottom. As you just let your body rest into the ground, you can even sometimes have this sense of how it's almost like the embrace of the earth, like the earth wants you. It's lovely to just surrender into that feeling. And then just take your time, bringing your feet now under your knees. And then if you like, we're just going to place your block under your sacrum and Just make sure that you've got like nice space under your neck. So you may need to move a ponytail if it's kind of putting your head in a funny position. And just take a moment to just relax into the back of your neck a little more. And then if you'd like, we're just going to bring your feet onto the bolster, but you may need to just adjust your positioning so that it's comfortable for you. You don't want to feel like it's pulling your lower back into arching. So you may need to put your feet onto the ground and just sort of like lengthen the sitting bones down towards the end of your mat for a moment. Maybe just stay here with your feet on the ground, letting your belly sink down till it kind of gets used to that. And then when you bring your legs out, you can kind of still keep that level across your pelvis so you're not letting it tip forwards too much. I mean, you can let it tip forwards if it's comfortable for you. It's just that I don't want you to feel like it's pulling your lower back, this posture. You may feel like it's pulling a little bit into your front of your hips, just in a nice, gentle way in the front of the leg. Some people feel it. I hope it feels like quite comfortable for you to be able to start to rest your sacrum downwards and your legs, your feet down, in the back of your shoulders and the back of your head. You know, I often think when you when you cradle a little baby, you cradle under their sacrum. You even do that when you hold an animal, you cradle the sacrum or down the spine. And it's lovely to just let yourself have this feeling of how you are cradling your sacrum now, and kind of just like let your body be cradled, you know, let yourself kind of soften into that. As you just let your awareness rest on the softness of your breath. Perhaps you can't even hear your breath, it might be so soft. See if you can hear it. If you're tuning in, bringing your senses in. Just listening in for any internal sounds. Can you hear your heart beating? Just resting here for a few more breaths. And then just when you're ready, put your feet onto the ground and slide the block out, letting your sacrum rest down. And then perhaps extend your feet over onto the bolster if that feels nice, or maybe you just want to keep your feet wide and your knees drop into each other. Just letting your body rest into the ground, your lower back, sacrum, your hips. And then we're going to just have your feet wide if they're not already, and your knees bent. So put your feet onto the ground, like touching the outside edges of your mat. And then I'm just going to show you these different variations now. We could just drop your knees down over to the left, and but make sure you're keeping your right sitting bone down. And then you can just rock back and drop your knees over to the right, but keep your left sitting bone, bottom cheek down. So you could stay with like that. Or now this time as you drop your legs over to the left, you could put your left ankle onto your right thigh, keeping your right bottom touching the ground. And so you might actually want to slide your hand under your left bottom, so that kind of helps you to keep the right side down. Maybe. Okay, so this is option 2. So like with the leg hold, kind of helping the other leg to drop down. Option 3 is to bring your, if you'd like, you could bring your left foot just next to your bottom if that's very easy for you to slide your foot there. If that is any strain at all, please just go back to step 1, which is just dropping the knee side to side, or 2 with the leg onto the ankle onto the thigh. So it's whatever feels lovely for you. So you're internally rotating your hip joint now. And again, just letting your lower back relax as you do that. Letting your head relax. Just change to the other side when you're ready. So you could just be dropping the legs over to the other side, or using one ankle on, or putting your foot next to your bottom. Again, just letting your body rest down, your lower back relax down, your head relax down, so your neck releases. Let your sitting bones just be resting down towards the end of your mat, so your lower back's relaxed, belly's relaxed, forehead's relaxed. Just kind of softening into the earth. Just letting the earth hold you. Just for a few more breaths. And when you're ready, just sliding both legs out, and when your legs extend out, let your feet go wide. Let your whole body rest. And then this next posture, we're going to put your feet onto the ground, and then let your right hand come underneath your body, so that you've kind of rolled your shoulder in. So maybe you actually want to put your right hand under your sacrum where it just was. It maybe that's enough, or perhaps you put it underneath your lower back, or perhaps it'll come up more like in between the shoulder blades, or just under the shoulder blades. But we don't want to be putting too much pressure into the shoulder, but we are putting some pressure in the shoulder. Okay, so just watch out, my extremist friends. Before you get the speeding ticket, you could just slow down a little bit. Ease off. So does that feel okay? Now you could just let your left arm just rest out to the side, or perhaps you might like to have your left arm up into the air, or behind you onto the ground, or onto a bolster. Or maybe you might like to put your hand under your head, or perhaps it'll be okay to bring your left hand so that it's touching your upper back. So I'm not sure if I explained it well enough. Your right hand is down onto the mat. It's the back of your right hand that's on your back. Your left hand will be onto your palm onto your back. Some of you guys may even bring the hands to touch. But remember, we're not trying to like tie ourselves in knots just for the sake of it. So adjust if you need to find a place where you can rest. You might like to have your blanket under your head or supporting under your shoulder. Maybe you could always just move the hands a little. Just keep letting your sitting bones rest down towards your mat. The idea being to just let yourself kind of soften and release and bring comfort, not to get your back up because you've come into this position. See, so just allowing for ease and freedom, capacity that you have to comfort yourself, able to comfort. And part of that is just kind of just a deep love and acceptance and surrender. So allowing ourselves to just let go of resistance. Which is actually really simple. Sometimes our minds like to cling on. But letting go is actually very easy. Feel how you can just let go into your hands. So just take your time to release your arms out. Just let your arms relax out to the sides. Perhaps let your feet drop out to the sides as well. Like you're a little star on your mat. Sometimes it's so nice when you come out of the posture and you're like, beautiful breathing, right? It's like you can feel how you clear. So perhaps you'll just, let your left hand, because, if you have a shoulder injury, don't feel like you have to not do these poses. Just try. Say if it's your left shoulder that is an issue, you can just let your left palm face the ground. And just see then if you can just let your shoulder relax there. Like that may be enough. And maybe your right arm comes overhead onto a bolster. So this idea in yin is that we just, like if you think of like what can happen is that like our joints can kind of get shrink wrapped because of lack of motion. And so we're just, every posture, I'm just using it for this example. But what you can do in every posture is just go to that minimum edge and it just starts to kind of unravel the shrink wrapping, and then you can just go a little easier, freer. So maybe it's enough just having one arm overhead and one arm down. Maybe put your feet onto the ground, lengthen your lower back. Okay, if it's okay, you can then slide your left hand so that the palm is facing down and it goes under your sacrum. Or maybe it can just gently shift up so that your hand starts to come up towards the shoulder blades. But please be so gentle, not straining. You can, if you want, bring your right palm to face into your back and behind your head so your top arm is bent. And just letting yourself breathe out once you've kind of come into a position that you can just rest in, a stillness. It's kind of a paradox because, the fact is that the more that you're allowing your body to be still, you actually can be aware of the vibrancy and the not stillness inside you, the prana that's ever moving inside you, So it's kind of like you're not moving your limbs, but inside there's myriad processes, and it's like you can just kind of, float on this aliveness, this gift of aliveness, the delight and this wonder of your inner kingdom. Imagine as if your whole body's breathing, because it really is, that cellular respiration. The way you can bring your breath to any areas that you can benefit from your loving kindness, your tender gentleness. Imagine as if just letting your ears kind of drape down and head just rest completely to your shoulders. Releases your neck. Just take your time. Gradually press into your feet so you can lift your bottom up and release your bottom arm out, and let your top arm come out. Just let your arms relax out, open to the sides. Let your legs just rest open. Perhaps you can nicely rest your feet onto your bolster if that feels nice, or don't have to. Just let them rest where you'd like them to rest, and just let go again even more into the ground. And perhaps if you've got your feet on your bolster, you could just maybe roll it up a little bit so that you could use your heels to pull it up. And if you'd like to, we can come into a twist, but using the bolster for your feet. So start off with the soles of your feet onto the bolster, and then put your right ankle onto the left knee. Lift your bottom a bit over to the right, and then just bring your your knees to the left. And that way then you'll have your left shin and left ankle and left knee and right foot and right ankle onto the bolster. Maybe you don't like this, so just adjust it. I just kind of wanted to show you this option. Perhaps you would rather, in fact, have your knees together, which is a lovely option. You may even like to have your left leg on top of your right leg. It's nice to kind of experiment. What feels better, right leg on left, left on right, knees together? It's like a little dance. You might also like to bring your right arm into the air, so like you're waving hi, and then just bring your arm behind you, letting the back of your hand rest onto the ground and the palm up, as you just let your head rest and your shoulder rest. And the position of your head, you may like to roll it over to the left. It doesn't have to roll to the right, and maybe you'd just like to have it just with the back of your head on the ground. Sometimes it's really lovely to imagine that like you're making a body print on the ground, like how, do you remember when you're a child loving to make footprints on the ground, on the sand at the beach? Imagine just letting all your body weight rest deep down, like you're making a body print. Take your time. Just slide your right ankle onto the left ankle if it isn't already there. Knees together now. And then just bring your feet back up onto your bolster and then just let your legs slide out to come into a moment of Shavasana before we go into the other side. Maybe you want to rest for longer before you change sides. But if you'd like to, put both feet back on the bolster and bottoms over to the left and left ankle onto the right knee and knees across, and just see how that is. How does that feel? Maybe you want the knees to be together, or maybe you'd like the right knee to be on the left. Just kind of slightly changes it. And perhaps you'd like your left arm out to the side, or maybe you'd like to wave your fingers into the air and then let your back of your hand come down onto the ground or bolster. Just see if that feels nice, and just let your ears relax, the back of your skull relax. But just adjust anything if you need, if you want to change the position of your legs or your arms or your head. Just listening to your intuition inside you. In some ways, I know that our yin practice, it can feel like it's, like a deep stretching, but I just think it's really helpful to kind of know that it's not like stretching yourself to be something that you're not. In fact, really what it's doing is releasing what's kind of been put on that's not you. Because, when you think when you're a little child, I don't know if you can remember hanging on the monkey bars, playing around, rolling on the ground, somersaults, all the kind of movements that are anatomically possible for you. And so sometimes what's maybe happened is it's like there's been some kind of blocks to that for whatever, whatever reasons, however come, doesn't really matter, actually. It's just like this kind of return to wholeness is the process of yoga. It's kind of like a deep letting be. Loving presence. Just take your time when you're ready to just roll back and now slide your legs out into Shavasana. You may like to put a bolster, to keep the bolster under your knees, or maybe you'd like to put a blanket under your head or your eye pillow. I can bring you an eye pillow if you like. Blanket on top of you. We want to get nice and cozy and comfy. That's it. Just letting yourself rest. And perhaps you might like to, just for a few breaths, focus on the figure eight pathway, Arahan and Awarahan. It's when you're aware of the breath in, tracing from Mula to clavicle notch around to the back of your head. Feel the back of your head on the ground. the top of your skull, and then down into the midbrain. Just let yourself just kind of float there in ajna, the top of the in-breath and the beginning of the out-breath, that momentary pause between the breaths. And feeling the breath out. Just gently, natural, the direction of your consciousness down to C7 in your neck and down the spine, your sacrum resting into the ground. Pull down to where your tailbone is, into mula. And just when you sense the breath in, just tracing up back to ajna, and sometimes you might find that your awareness just rests at ajna, just holds there. Sometimes you see light, jyoti, radiance. So let yourself rest in that, rest in your inner light. So just gently start to make some little movements if you would like to seal our practice. Don't feel like you have to. You're so welcome to just keep resting into Shavasana. If you would like, just hug your knees to you, little cuddle. Take your time to roll over to your side. Slowly come up when you're ready. Your palms come together when you're ready to sit. And we can join together for 3 Oms. Namaste. Namaste. Thank you very much. Good on you.